Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodesh. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Jeremiah, the 6th chapter, as we continue on in Jeremiah's ministry, right, as he continues to warn Judah and Jerusalem, or Israel at this time, of the Lord's wrath that is impending upon them for their disobedience. So this is Jeremiah chapter 6, verse 1. O ye children of Benjamin, gather yourselves to flee out of the midst of Jerusalem. And now when you look at the map of Israel, the city of Jerusalem was pretty much within the region of the territory of Benjamin, bordered with Judah, right? If we look up here, ancient Israel, Jerusalem, and Benjamin. You see here, right there, right? You have here the land of Benjamin, and you got Jerusalem right there. So right at the border of Judah and Benjamin. So as Jeremiah says here, right, gather yourselves to flee out of the midst of Jerusalem, and blow the trumpet in Tekoa, and set up a sign of fire in Bethakerim, for evil appeareth out of the north, and great destruction. So basically everybody just like, start preparing yourselves and flee and warn others, because this evil destruction is coming from the north. I have likened the daughter of Zion to a comely and delicate woman, and comely means beautiful. Okay, so the Lord is saying that to him, right, Israel as a nation is like a beautiful woman to him, but that's not going to get them off the hook. They're still going to be judged. The shepherds with their flocks shall come unto her. The shepherds here are referring to the armies of the Babylonian Empire. It's just to use an analogous form. So they're going to come onto her, onto Jerusalem. They shall pitch their tents against her round about. They shall feed everyone in his place. And it's basically giving the visual of like when you have multiple shepherds in a particular area feeding their flocks, they basically organize themselves so that they're in separate, regions, so their flocks are not mixing. And then their flocks feed, as it says, everyone in his place. And this is used to describe the formation, right, and the methodical way in which the armies of the Babylonians would besiege or surround Jerusalem, and each attacking a certain portion, right, of her walls and trying to scale it and break through. Verse 4, prepare ye war against her, arise, and let us go up at noon. And this is from the perspective of their armies, not Jerusalem's armies, right, but the armies of the enemies. And I'll read this in the NLT because it makes a bit more sense when you read it that way. Anyway, it says, let us go up at noon. Woe unto us, for the day goeth away, for the shadows of the evening are stretched out. Arise and let us go by night, and let us destroy her palaces. So here, it's like Jeremiah is seeing, they plan to go at noon, but then they see, it's already getting late. And they say, you know what, F it, let's just attack them in the nighttime, regardless. So in the NLT, it says, they shout, prepare for battle, attack at noon. No, it's too late. The day is fading, and the evening shadows are falling. Well then, let's attack at night and destroy her palaces, right? So it's basically like this unrelenting mindset that the Lord was going to put upon them, not to spare Israel from this judgment. Verse 6, for thus hath the Lord Yahweh of hosts said, hew ye down trees and cast a mount against Jerusalem. So, basically prepare battering rams, right, to be able to either scale or break through the defenses of the city. This is the city to be visited. Now, when the Lord says these things, right, as Jeremiah is saying, for thus hath the Lord said, when you actually see that like playing out, you're not hearing the voice of the Lord saying this to the Babylonians, their armies, but what it looks like playing out in real life is, they get there, they see the situation, and then their captain, right, might idea might come into his mind, and he might give an order to the troops or the soldiers to say, yo, start cutting down some wood, and preparing these siege mounts, so we can do what we got to do. Remember, in Proverbs 21, it says that the heart of the king is in the hands of the Lord. So he controls the battle. He puts battle plans and formations and thoughts into the minds of people on the battlefield. So even though you may not hear the Lord literally say it as if he's commanding them to do it, he's still doing it in the spirit. Right? So when Jeremiah says that, it's like the Lord directing the course of this invasion by the Babylonians, because he's ultimately using them as a punishment against Jerusalem for their wickedness. This is the city to be visited. She is wholly oppression in the midst of her, meaning she's full of oppression and wickedness. As a fountain casteth out her waters, so she casteth out her wickedness. So imagine if you were, like you have a well and it springs out water, just as how it fills up, that area you've digged. That's likened on to how Jerusalem casts out wickedness. Violence and spoil is heard in her. Before me continually is grief and wounds. So the Lord is saying, like, every time I look at this place, it's just some form of death or destruction or unruly, abominable behavior. It's like today, right? I'll give you a low-level example. It's like today, every time you go on social media, you get a glimpse of the disgusting world, primarily in Jake neighborhoods, right? It's either you're scrolling and you see somebody, shooting somebody, some woman, being promiscuous, some dude talking about adultery, some guy here talking about how he, somebody on camera getting shot because he had a gold chain and he was on Facebook Live. It's just oppression, violence, spoiling, and continual grief. So imagine, rather than you, because when you're on social media, these are things that are posted, right? The Lord is seeing things that are untamed and uncut, right? That are actually happening all around, as he was seeing back then, and he's seeing that now, which is now is even worse than before. But just like an example, verse 8, be thou instructed, O Jerusalem, lest my soul depart from thee. So, take heed, right? Listen, follow my instructions before I lose what little, reason that I have to want to have mercy on you. Right? As he says, lest my soul depart from thee, because when the Lord's soul departs, or when he turns his his back, we become prey or subject to the nations around us. In fact, in the book of, I believe it's 2nd Maccabees, it's written that the reason Antiochus was able to have the upper hand and commit such atrocities against Israel wasn't because he was so great, but because the Lord was angry at Israel for that period of time. It explicitly said that in there. So when the Lord is angry at us and he takes away his protection, we become subject to plagues, to these nations, right? To basically anything under the sun. Lest I make thee desolate, a land not inhabited. So, it's always important to keep note that when you look at like the writings of the prophets, a lot of the times it's prefixed with justification, especially if they're a prophet that prophesied like in their time there was destruction that came, like Ezekiel or Jeremiah and other prophets. You'll see that there's a lot of justification where the Lord is showing both them and I guess us now the chances he gave Israel, the constant warnings, And they said, no, we're not going to listen. No, do your worst. And then he does. Though he has mercy, he still does. So regardless of how gruesome or horrific the judgment the Lord brought was, it was warranted. Okay? It was warranted. Verse 9, thus saith the Lord Yahweh of hosts, they shall thoroughly glean the remnant of Israel as a vine. So the way this army, the way they're gonna come and do damage and basically wipe the people out of the land, it's gonna be like during a harvest when the grape gatherers are plucking the grapes off of the vine. As it says, thoroughly. So the little that's left, they're gonna pick that off too. Turn back thine hand as a grape gatherer into the baskets, right? So just like you would see a grape gatherer returning to if he sees one or two, oh shit, it looks like I missed one. Let me go grab that, pluck that, put it in the basket. Israel's going to be likened onto those grapes that are getting gleaned off that vine. Verse 10, to whom shall I speak and give warning that they may hear? Because it seems like, everybody's just so far gone. Once again, and I keep relating it to examples now because examples are a great form of of teaching, but it helps you get a better sense, right? Because like now it's at the point where we don't even expect people to stop by when we're teaching because of how few people would actually listen and take heed, and as a matter of fact, we definitely don't expect people to stop by and listen and then come back the next week consistently to listen. That it's like that time is gone. It's very, very rare that you'll see that. See? And just like the Lord is saying here, who shall I speak to and give warning that they're going to listen? Behold, their ear is uncircumcised, meaning it's covered. It's blocked. They can't receive it, right? And they cannot hearken. Behold, the word of the Lord Yahweh is unto them a reproach. They have no delight in it. When people, like even back then, but also now as well, when they hear about the words of the Lord, the second they hear Bible, it's already like a turnoff for them. Like even so-called Christians, they don't want to discuss it. They don't want to talk about it. They talk about anything else but that. It's crazy. But as it says, they have no delight in it. Meanwhile, this book is your book. It's full of the salvation, right? It teaches you about you, your God, and how you can get back with your God so you can stop suffering the things that you're suffering now. But as it says, they have no delight in it. So the Lord is not going to have delight in them when this destruction comes upon this place, just like when destruction came upon them during Jeremiah's time. That's when they wanted to have delight in it. Verse 11, therefore I am full of the fury of the Lord. See, so Jeremiah started to see it. He finally started to get it, that damn. Like, I see what you're saying, Lord. I'm going through here and these people don't hear nothing. I am weary with holding in. I will pour it out. So now it's back to the Lord, the Lord's perspective, right? As he says, I will pour it out upon the children abroad and upon the assembly of young men together. So in all the regions where Israel is, right, in the land, they're all going to get, this judgment is going to be poured upon them. For even the husband with the wife shall be taken, so they're not going to be spared. The aged with him that is full of days meaning you're young, right? Like, for example, a water bottle, right, that is full of water, meaning it has a lot more water left in it, right? Versus an empty bottle. So if you consider your days to be like your life, if you're full of days, you have a lot more time left in your life, like somebody that is young versus one that is aged. So the Lord is saying here, similar to what's written in Ezekiel, age, the judgment is age agnostic, gender agnostic, status agnostic. Verse 12, and their houses shall be turned onto others with their fields and wives together. So all your possessions, those of value, are going to be taken from you and given onto the in this case, your oppressors, right? Because they would have the power to take it from you. For I will stretch out my hand upon the inhabitants of the land, saith the Lord. And when the Lord says he's going to stretch out his hand, it means he's going to take action against you. For from the least of them, even unto the greatest of them, everyone is given to covetousness, i.e. greed. And from the prophet, even unto the priest, everyone dealeth falsely. From prophets prophesying for hire, prophesying lies, to the priests, once again, corrupting the ways of the Lord, and even delving into left-hand practices, right? Corruption. You want to see an example? Look around you today. Verse 14, they have healed also the hurt of the daughter of my people slightly. So saying peace, peace, when there is no peace, meaning they've it's like having a major infection that needs, like an operation, or it needs an actual, full diagnosis, and whatnot, treatment. There's a certain procedure for it, and you're trying to put a band-aid on it. That's what the Lord is likening what they were doing. He's like, they've basically like given you a band-aid solution by telling you peace, peace, which is all that's going to do when you're going through a bad time. If there's not actually peace, but somebody's telling you like it's going to be okay, all that's going to do is give you a slight bit of temporary mental reprieve. But in actuality, it's not going to heal or fix your situation, right? If if you have, you're in a bad situation, you're hurt, right? Or you have a loved one or something like that, and they tell you, it's looking kind of dire, and somebody tells you, no, it's going to be okay. That it's going to be okay isn't what's going to heal your broken arm, right? Or cure that incurable disease. All it's going to do is give you a little bit of false sense of hope, in this case, if it's actually not going to be okay. But there's actually, like I said, it's not going to be okay. So in this case, as it says, peace, peace, when there is no peace, the actual destruction was coming, but putting these people in a ignorance is bliss mindset was just, as it says, healing them slightly, which is what these pseudo prophets would do, just like your modern day pastors do today. And that's why they have a large following, because that's what people want to hear. When they were they ashamed when they had committed abomination? So when they're going around committing all forms of wickedness before my face, were they ashamed? Were they embarrassed? No. Nay, they were not at all ashamed. Neither could they blush. So they don't even feel the slightest embarrassment for doing wickedness and being called out on it. In fact, it emboldens them to do it even more. You tell somebody they're not supposed to eat abominable foods because the Lord said it, they'll go on social media and do a video eating abominable foods that they normally wouldn't even eat, just because. You see why the Lord called them foolish people? Therefore, therefore they shall fall among them that fall. At the time that I visit them, shall they be cast down, saith the Lord. So the falling is the succumbing to judgment. So as a result, you're gonna you're gonna fall prey to this judgment amongst all those that I have targeted. And when I visit them with the destruction, they're gonna be cast down. They're not gonna survive. Thus saith the Lord, stand ye in the ways and see, and ask for the old paths. Where is the good way? The old paths here are referring on to the godly ways, right? The ways that the Lord desires, right? The ways of the Lord's instruction. As it says, where is the good way, and walk therein. So live that kind of lifestyle, and ye shall find rest for your souls. How simple is that? Turn around, look for what you're supposed to do, follow instruction, and it'll bring you the rest. It'll bring you the peace that you so desire. But they said, we will not walk therein. Damn, bro. You suffering infirmities. You're in captivity after captivity after captivity. You're having strife amongst your members, being your family, right? Your brethren. And the Lord says, well, here's the solution. They say, no, we don't want that. So you can't do anything for these kind of people, man. Verse 17, also I set watchmen over you. So the Lord is saying, I gave you the path, I gave you the way. I said, this is the path, go and walk you in it. It's going to help you. They said, no, we're not going to walk in it. The Lord said, okay, I set watchmen over you to warn you, because that's a watchman's job, saying, hearken to the sound of the trumpet, listen to the alarm, listen to the warning. But they said, we will not hearken. So if I got this correctly, right? You set up, there's a watchman set up whose job, it's like buying and installing security cameras and or a smoke detector, and there's a fire and the alarm is going off, which is to its job is to tell you that something bad is coming. And you say, well, yeah, I'm all right. I'm not going to listen to that. So when the fire burns you, or when the enemy invades your land because you weren't prepared, whose fault is that? Like, hey, as it says, yeah, but they said, we will not hearken. Therefore, hear ye nations. And you notice, you'll see the Lord uses the term therefore a lot. Therefore means it's like, okay, well, as a result, since you will not X, Y, and Z, this is what I'm going to do. It's not like the Lord just got up one day and he was like, you know what? You're doing wickedness, and let me just bring the judgment right away. No, he's like, all right, I know, and you know that really I shouldn't have to come and warn you about this, but I'll do it anyway because I love you, because I care about you, right? And then he sends the warning many times for decades, and each time you say, nope, 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 I do not care. So he says, okay, well then, I've tried everything that I could. So now here's the judgment. Because clearly that's what you want. If I've brought you all the ways of peace and you reject them all, what are you telling me? You're telling me you don't want peace. I don't want peace. Right? You want problems. And the Lord is like, okay, I can give you problems if that's what you want. And then when he gives you the problems, then you start complaining. But there's no more peace left. Therefore, hear ye nations and know, O congregation, what is among them. See, so basically bear witness that this is what the mindset of these people are. This is how they are. This is how they live. So don't when I bring judgment, it shouldn't be a shock. Hear, O earth, behold, I will bring evil upon this people, even the fruit of their own thoughts. So the fruit is what comes after you plant, right? The fruit is like the offspring or the result of your sowing. So the fruit of their thoughts is the result of their abominable, ungodly thoughts, which manifest in their actions. So the penalty for that is the evil the Lord is going to bring. Because they have not hearkened unto my words, nor to my law, but rejected it. To what purpose cometh there to me incense from Sheba, and the sweet cane from a far country? The sweet cane, when you go when you go into that, I think we went into that before. I forget what book we were reading when we went into that, but it's here it's listed as calamus, which is basically like an imported reed or a certain good smelling. Let's just go with that. A good smelling fragrance, right? Obviously, from some natural plant or something of that sort. But the Lord is saying, you know, why, to what purpose? Like, what are you hoping to gain by burning incense onto me, or offering this sweet cane as though I'm supposed to be appeased by that? Your burnt offerings are not acceptable, nor your sacrifices sweet unto me. So like it's like the nerve, right? Where I'm telling you what you should be doing, you turn to my face and tell me, nah, I ain't gonna do that. And then you turn around and then come and offer a burnt offering. You come and offer a burnt offering, or you try to come and sacrifice unto the Lord. It's like a woman that is committing adultery, and you first you warn her, that she better not. Then she does it. And then she comes back. She's not going to stop committing adultery, but then she comes back home to you to try and act like your wife. What? Excuse me? Shit. That's just disrespectful. Anyway, verse 21. Therefore, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, I will lay stumbling blocks before this people, and the fathers and the sons together shall fall upon them. So a stumbling block is something that is set for you to trip. Like in cartoons, they show you a banana peel. They'll throw it down and then the person will run and slip. A stumbling block is just that. It's like it's a stone or something placed in a way that if you don't see it, you trip over it and fall. So the Lord here is saying he's going to set up an occasion for you to fall, which is going to be basically it's an evil thing upon you. Both the father and the son, as it says, shall fall upon them. The neighbor and his friend shall perish. So the Lord is going to set up an occasion to basically make you fall, right? And bring evil upon the inhabitants of Israel at this time. Verse 22, thus saith the Lord Yahweh, behold, a people cometh from the north country. A great nation shall be raised from the sides of the earth. Once again, that's what we read in a chapter or two before, that at this time the Lord was raising up and setting up the rise of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. They shall lay hold on bow and spear. They are cruel and have no mercy. Their voice roareth like the sea, and they ride upon horses. And what that means is like, how you hear the oceans of the oceans, the waves of the sea clashing. You know what the sound of sea sounds like, right? So it's not saying that when they scream it sounds like ocean water, but it's just metaphorical to say like you hear waves crashing, it sounds powerful and loud. And they ride upon horses, set in array as men for war against thee, O daughter of Zion. We have heard the fame thereof, our hands wax feeble. Anguish hath taken hold of us, and pain as a woman in travail. And then I'm going to read this in the NLT. We have heard reports about the enemy. And we wring our hands in fright. Pangs of anguish have gripped us like those of a woman in labor. Let me see. I want to look up this wring hands. Okay, so it's basically like the motion you see when somebody is afraid, right, or nervous, and rightfully so, because the Lord is about to have them, bring judgment on your ass. Verse 25: Go not forth into the field, nor walk by the way, for the sword of the enemy and fear is on every side. And guess what happened? At some point, getting at the very end, Zedekiah, which was the last ruler here in Judah, he tried to flee, right? And they try to find, I think they try to find like some entrance through a broken part of the wall and try to flee. But guess what? The troops had already surrounded the city, and they were waiting. So they caught him, no problem. But they're saying this because in a siege, you're surrounded on all sides, right? For the most part. O daughter of my people, gird thee with sackcloth, and wallow thyself in ashes, which are signs of mourning. Make thee mourning as for an only son. So mourn as though you had lost your only son. Most bitter lamentation, for the spoiler shall suddenly come upon us. I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people. And this is basically just start preparing, because when the Babylonians get here, it's going to be just as bad as you heard. Okay, and they're not going to have mercy, because they're going to have the wrath of the Lord upon them. I have set thee for a tower and a fortress among my people. This is now the Lord speaking to Jeremiah. And when he says a tower here, the actual word is not like a tower of like running into, but as it says, an assayer or an inspector and valuer of metals. So as the Lord says, he set up Jeremiah as like an inspector, right, or valuer of metals, and also, as it says, a fortress among my people. So he would, basically Jeremiah, by prophesying, would be used to measure the value of the people of the Lord. But also, for those that take heed, right, those that would listen, he would be like a fortress, because by them hearing the instruction of the Lord by the mouth of Jeremiah, they would be able to find an escape. That thou mayest know and try their way. That's why he refers to him as a tower, or an assayer, so you can try them. So now they're likened onto silver, or precious stones or precious metals, and you are to evaluate them, basically. Verse 28, they are all grievous revolters, walking with slanders. They are brass and iron, they are all corrupters. See, so as it says, they're grievous revolters. They don't listen, they don't take heed, right? They, everything that the Lord tells them, they turn their, they revolt against it. As it says, walking with slanders, they are brass and iron, so you cannot get through to them. They are all corrupters. They are corrupt and they corrupt others. Verse 29, the bellows are burned. The bellow is it's like the thing that, a blacksmith uses to like a fan, right? But it has two handles, and then you squeeze it together to blow air into the forge, or like the fire, to make it burn hotter. So as it says, the bellows are burned, the lead is consumed in the fire. And the bellows are burned doesn't mean the actual fan is destroyed. But I'll pull this up in the NLT. It says, the bellows fiercely fan the flames to burn out the corruption, but it does not purify them, for the wickedness remains. Right. So as it says, the lead is consumed in the fire. So when you are um uh like a blacksmith or something, right, you're purifying by basically smashing out the impurities, or by putting this precious um metal in the fire to burn off the impurities out of it and refine it. But here the Lord is saying, these people, by being put in the fire, the lead is consumed in the fire, right? But the founder melteth in vain, meaning your work by putting them in the fire, which is by basically teaching them this word, is in vain. For the wicked are not plucked away. So you can liken the wicked or wickedness of the people of Israel to the impurities in like a gold or silver, and you're putting it in the fire hoping to burn those off, but it just stays upon it. So you're basically wasting your time and your energy. Verse 30, reprobate silver shall men call them, because the Lord Yahweh hath rejected them. Right? And reprobate is like, in this sense, the word means like rejected. So basically they're no good, as the Lord basically said here. And as you see, because if they were good, they wouldn't have suffered the judgment that they suffered later on. And that brings us to the end of the book of Jeremiah, the 6th chapter. Lord willing, this is edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Rakha Kodash. Until next time, Shalom.